Hi, everyone. I hope that your summer is going really well. Um, I'm recording this on the July 3rd, Friday morning, and I got up early this morning to watch Hamilton, and I'm guessing that a bunch of you did as well. I'm sorry that we aren't in person so that we can't discuss all the wonderful things that I saw this morning, all the lessons that were there, and the great things that you can learn from it, but it inspired me. So I'm going to teach a combination based on one of the songs from Hamilton. It's from What Did I Miss? But it's not the very beginning of the song. The song is really lengthy. And because that is a show, not like the ones we've done, but that's definitely a show where everything is sung. Like everything is part of the story, and everything that they say is important. And so, because of that, the songs encompass a whole lot of musical styles in one song. So, this is from What Did I Miss? And the actual choreography, before we even start, starts at about a minute and 34 seconds. I think will give you a good intro if you start there. It's when the song gets faster. It's Thomas Jefferson singing, and it's really a fabulous it was fabulous, and I loved it from all along. I've done combinations to it before, and actually I wanted to use it way back in the beginning of the summer when we started these lessons, but musically it's very difficult. So we started with some easier things before we moved on to this. um, if you watched the show, which I thought was amazing, if you watch it for the choreography in particular, you'll notice that although there's a lot of songs that have dances in them, it's not dances like we think of dances. If you've ever taken a dance class before, or when you start, you come on the stage, you keep moving the whole time, and it doesn't work like that. The other thing that I noticed that we have not pointed out in the past, but it has come up, the main characters don't dance all that much. They join in the action some of the time, and they do some of the stuff, but because they do the bulk of the singing, and when they sing solos, they actually don't dance, because trying to sing and dance at the same time it's really tricky, and it's hard to have enough breath to do that. And so if you notice, Lin Manuel Miranda doesn't dance all that much. The guy who plays Thomas Jefferson dances a little bit, especially in this number. But for the most part, the people who handle the bulk of the dancing are the ensemble people. And I really liked that as an example. It was a really great example of that. The other thing is, they didn't move all the time. They moved in like what we would call fits and starts. So they would move for a little bit, and then they would stop, and they'd move around the stage in what we consider musical blocking, and then they would stop. And so it was a great example of that, and how you have to pay attention, because it's not something that you remember, that you just say, "Oh, I'm going to start this choreography here and move on." It doesn't work that way. So, and we've discussed that in the past, and we've talked about those sorts of things. But this was a really great example of an amazing piece of theater that used that very thing. Those of you who were in Frozen last year, when we did the opening, and the royal family was singing their parts and describing the different things, and only certain parts of the ensemble moved at a time, you can kind of see why that is really traditional theater behavior. And that's why we did it, because if you moved all the time, it would be distracting from the story that you're trying to tell. And if you don't move at all, it becomes a little bit monotonous if people aren't moving at all. And there were times in this, not that I mean it was monotonous, I don't mean that, but there were times where the severity of the story um made it so that there wasn't a lot of movement around. They were just speaking like one person, Aaron Burr, to like his own internal monologue, and he didn't move at all. And so they had a lot of interesting, theater techniques that were in that show. And if you watch it, or watch it again, because I know that there's no way I'm just watched it once, that you will notice different things as you do it. So I thought that this would inspire you to learn something a little bit more. I don't want to say stylized, but it definitely is more musically um, more difficult. So don't feel like this is over your head. If it's too much, then that's absolutely fine. But I thought maybe you might want to challenge. The other thing is this piece of choreography is not that long. It's kind of short because I sort of made it on the quick. And if I get inspired again, I might add a second part to it so that we can continue it. Please enjoy, and I hope that you watch lots of theater. There's been given a lot of opportunities for that over the summer, and it's a great way to learn what you might want to do in the future. So I hope that you enjoy. Okay, are we ready to start our Hamilton choreography? Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to notice that this piece of music, because it's, like I said, in the storyline, it starts really slow. So the intro to this, for when we start, it's a jazzy sort of, it actually is a traditional musical theater beat at this point. But it starts really slow, and once it gets fast, you hear it, and you're going to hear in the music. To start it, you're going to bend your knees. Your feet are about hip width apart. Bend your knees, and you're going to, if you can see me, I'm coming up on the balls of my feet and hitting my heels. So in time with the music. At the same time, my shoulders are going to come up and down. So my hands are out. So it's a whole body. My heels go, my shoulders go at the same time. And you're going to do that for 8 counts. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll hear it in the music. It's got like a, I think it's a bass guitar that does it, or maybe piano. I forget. But anyways, you'll hear it in the music. It's like a dun 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 dun, and your heels and shoulders will go in time with the music. So that's your first 8 counts. Pretty simple. Then we're gonna do a box step. So you're gonna cross. It's slow. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's your second 8 count. So you start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is a loose dance. So it's not stiff, it's not proper. It's definitely loose. And then you're going to chasse. So in that same looseness, you're going to chasse, but instead of being chasse to get up in the air like we normally do, this is definitely a down to the ground one. So this is chasse, ball, change, chasse, ball, change. So that's your third 8 count. So you do, this is 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8. And then your last 8 count is just step, touch. And again, you're low, step, touch, step, and you snap. So there's 4 of those. So that first phrase, you can hear it. You start with the shoulders and the heels. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Chasse, chasse. Then step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. So one more. So it makes an 8 count. So let's try that with the music. Like I said, we're starting this in the middle of the song. So you want to find on your music about 134, and that will give you enough time. I think this one's going to start at 132. That's just where my phone wanted it to be. But you can hear when it starts. See, it's nice and slow here. So what did I miss? What did I miss? And chasse, chasse, step. So that's the first. Whoop. This is a little different than the ones we've done in the past because it actually starts before the singing starts, because there's enough of an introduction from that slow to quick to really start it at the beginning, and not like we've done in the past. We wait for them to start singing. But again, this isn't at the beginning of the song. So let's try that again so that you can really hear it and hear when it starts. It's hard to count 5, 6, 7, 8 because it changes tempo. Here we go. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Virginia, my home, sweet home. I want to give you a kiss. So that's our first one. Now, here's where it gets tricky. So this is why we're doing a much shorter one. So the next set is, it doesn't have that steady beat like it did for the first 32 counts. So now what we're going to rely on are the accents in the music to tell us when to go. And I tried to count it out for you so that I could give you counts, but my brain just listens to the beats of the music and the accents, and it it keeps changing how it's counting it. So I can't count it. I can't manage to count it out for you. So, but the first thing, all right, so after you've done the step touch, 5, 6, 7, 8, you're going to step on the right foot and hit your ball of your foot on the left and make sure that leg is bent. So it's more like a pose. So you're going to hit it and you wait and then your head snaps. And so in the beat, you can hear that the music is different. It's not that same. I mean, I think maybe you probably could force it to count it, but it feels awkward. So you're just going to do step, dig, head. And I'm actually going to do it in combination. We're going to learn it a little differently because of that, because you really need the music in order to understand what I'm talking about. So we're going to do it from now on an 8 count at a time and not a 32 count, just based on the way this movement works. So here we are, starting again at the beginning. You're gonna get really used to this. So what did I miss? What did and cross. Now it's a chasse. Virginia, my home, sweet home. I wanna give you a kiss. Step tap. I've been in Paris eating out to every lady. Head. I guess I basically missed the late. So you are waiting there. So this really relies, much like it did on what we, if you watched the movie that they made of the play. So I don't know what to call it at this point. You can hear it, you move right away. So you would do step, touch, step, touch, step, touch, step, touch, step, dig, hold till you hear that head. And I forget what the word is. I should have wrote it down. The next part I know is I basically missed. So this is a pull. So a pull is with your whole entire body. The bigger you can make it, the more you feel it in the groove of the music, the better it will look. So it's really, I'm limited by my space here, but you want to pull with your whole body. So your hip goes with your leg and your arm follows, but you have to drag it because you have to drag. So you drag that trailing foot so that you can actually feel it in the music. And I'm sorry that it's to the left, but that's just the way, sometimes it happens that way. So after you've done step, dig, you wait, head. I basically missed the late 80s hit. So he says that. So you want that one move to take all of those counts. So unlike this where we wait, this is actually taking up all of the counts. You drag that last leg. It's that anticipation. Drag it across the floor, hit. So again, you're landing with your ball of your foot with your heel up and your knee bent by the time you get to that point. So let's add those two things together. Maybe I can remember to note what the word is that we get to. So here we go. So what did I miss? Shoulders. Now box step. Chasse. Virginia, my home, sweet home. I want to give you a kiss. Step touch. Step turn. Head. Drag. Step. So there is a you do. I basically missed the late 80s. There's a drum beat when you want that toe to hit. So this is turn, and I don't even know that there's a word. It's also an accent in the music. So if we're doing it in a play, and we would work on that so that everybody's head would hit at the same time. So that would be, if you were watching it from the audience, you would hear that accent. It would really drive home that beat. When we're doing it here like this, or if you were doing it for, say, an audition or something, what they would look at while you were doing it, what a judge would look at, or a choreographer or a director or whoever's doing the judging, is they would look for you to listen to your music. Are you listening to the music, and can you hit that accent? And it isn't hard, right? These are not hard steps. This is not a complicated thing. And often musical theater choreography is not complicated, but it has to be right on the music. And if it's all together, even the least difficult thing can be a really powerful storytelling piece or entertainment piece. So you really want to make sure that you stand still and that head is really sharp. And when you pull, you use all of your music to get to here. So once you get to here, the next thing is a pivot step. And unfortunately, once again, it's going to be on the left, but it always helps to learn the steps both on the right and the left. So we've done pivot before. You step forward on the left. Don't pick up your feet, and you pivot to the back. Step forward on the left. Don't pick up your feet. Pivot to the front. And it's not a fast one. It's slow. So we've pulled back to here, and it's something about traveling around the world. I forget what the exact cadence is of the lyrics. So you step, turn, and I know it says this. So I want you, when you hit that last, again, we're hitting an accent, and point to the ground, come back to this. And then we're almost done. So this is a really short, again, really short choreography piece. Hopefully I can add on to it later, but I wanted to get you started while we were, you know, especially if you're excited about the Hamilton. So starting from that second phrase, you do step, touch, then you wait, head, pull, step, pivot, hit again, and now you're just going to alternate your knees and your hands. And it doesn't actually end, because then it starts a whole new phrase. But that phrase it runs in, it's not 32 counts. I think it's going to end up being 64 counts of a full phrase. So I figured we'd start with this. So if we put this all together and do it from the beginning and add that piece on. Now the hardest part, again, is staying with the music for that piece. Here we go.
So what did I miss? What did I
Cross.
Virginia, my home, sweet home, I want to give you a kiss. I've been in Paris, eating lines at every lady. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I travel the wide, wide world.
Pivot.
Came back to this.
All right. So, that's our second set of 32. We're going to try it again, but you need to really notice when we do things fast and when we do things slow. And that was why we didn't start earlier in this process with this piece of music, because it changes speed a lot, and it doesn't always follow the rules that we normally teach when we teach dance. So again, you want to step, and it doesn't actually have a word. This time I listened. It doesn't have a word, and it doesn't really have a strong beat to hit that head. So you're really going to have to listen to the music and be okay with being still. And that's a trick that everybody needs to learn when they go, when they're on stage, is that's a really powerful tool to remain absolutely still and not make a whole lot of noise or a whole lot of movement or any at all, because then when you do move, people notice. And if you can get everybody all together, it makes for, it makes it really interesting. So you do step. So the last one was five. This was 5, 6, 7, 8. Step, dig, head, pull, dig, pivot, dig, knee, knee, knee. So that's how that goes at the end. So try it again, and then we'll put it back with the music. Going back and forth helps for you to get your timing correct. So you do 5, 6, 7, 8. Step, dig, wait, head, pull, dig, pivot, dig, knee, knee, knee. So let's put that together with the beginning and see how that goes.
Begins. So what did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home, sweet home, I want to give you a kiss. I've been in Paris, eating lines at every lady. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this.
So you can see that last move, I left it as sort of a transitional move because if we add on, you can hear how it has that anticipation intro into whatever comes next. And some of that is done for the purpose of story more so than the purpose of dance. So when you're coming at it from a choreographer's point of view, you have to make sure that what your movements are lend itself to the story and don't distract from the story. So that little like intro thing makes it really easy when you're listening to realize, oh wait, this is a change. It's a change in subject when he starts talking, because it's like he's back at Monticello. For those of you who, if you haven't seen the movie or the play or the whatever, he's back at Monticello. He's just walked in, and now there's a letter telling him he has to go back traveling again. So he's just come home from France, and now he's got to go back traveling again. So there's this big lead up to the next phrase, and that is why that phrase is actually really long, because it says, I'm going to be the secretary. Like, it goes through this whole storyline piece. So if we add on, you have to keep that in mind when you're learning. It's not just music playing. This one really lends itself to what are we doing? How does this serve the story? And that sort of thing. So it's a great lesson. Let's try it one more time from the beginning. And then I'm going to play it without me so that you can practice.
Monticello, now the work at
Are you ready?
home begins.
Yeah, ready? Here we go.
So
Shoulders.
what did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home, sweet home. I wanna give you a kiss. I've been in Paris eating nights in every 80s. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this.
So there's where.
On my desk from the president.
So that's our thing. And I realized as I started, I was cueing you, and so that's why I stopped in the middle. But let me play the music, and then you can practice this to your heart's content, and hopefully I'll be able to add on to it in the next couple of days. It's, in case you're not keeping track, it's actually July 3rd. The movie came out last night. So over July 4th weekend, I don't know that I'm going to end up being able to publish anything or work on this, but hopefully next week I can add a little bit more to this. So here you go. Here's your music for you to practice without me in front of you.
So what did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home, sweet home. I wanna give you a kiss. I've been in Paris eating nights in every 80s. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this. There's a letter on my desk.
Okay, so that's our short lesson for the day. Please have a safe 4th of July, and I hope to see you soon, and we can add on. If you have any questions, ask your parents to get my email. You can email me directly. I'd be glad to answer you. Or if you saw stuff that you liked or had questions about Hamilton or anything else this summer, feel free to ask and use me as a resource. I bored like the rest of you home in quarantine. We were in Myrtle Beach, and so now I'm back in quarantine, and so I would welcome any distraction. Have a safe 4th of July.